Hello and welcome to Uniper's Market Insights. My name is Florian Oberländer and today we will talk a little bit about the energy markets. And in order to do so, I'm very pleased to welcome Uniper's Chief Analyst Gregor Petz. Hi Gregor.
Hello Florian, great to see you here.
Same here as well. Gregor, let's start with the gas market developments because they are most relevant also to power prices and also for Uniper as a power plant operator and also as a gas trader. What is the latest status on the gas markets right now?
Yeah, absolutely. The gas prices have become a kind of fever indicator for the health of the European economy, the German economy, and also of Uniper's economic situation as a company, of course. So, and if you compare the situation to last year, where we saw prices at over 300 euros per megawatt hour in Europe, so the current prices between 33, 35 euros per megawatt hour that we have seen over the last days and weeks are, of course, much more moderate. So it's a much more relaxed situation. It's not like it was before the war and the crisis broke out. There we saw prices of around 20, so it's still higher, but much lower than the 300 we had last year. So overall, it looks fairly relaxed at face value.
Okay, some people say now the crisis is over, but given the current low levels. On the other hand, some people say it's kind of a false comfort zone we are in right now. So what's your take on this?
Yes, indeed. I mean, this is based on the current situation where we've seen a relatively warm winter, the last winter, and it enabled us to keep a lot of gas in storage. As a result of that, the storage levels are relatively comfortable in Europe. We are seeing between 65, 70% in Germany and in Europe. And that basically gives us a very good situation. Also, the supplies are stable as we speak, other than the Russian supplies, of course, but the Norwegian, for example, and the LNG supplies are relatively stable. However, that is by no means a guarantee that this situation will continue. So over the summer, prices can even be lower if the storage are full and the gas can go nowhere. But when the heating season starts again and the demand then picks in and it may be colder than it was last year, then the prices can go up again and we can see a much tighter situation in the gas markets in Europe.
Okay.
So this expression of wrong sense of comfort or wrong comfort zone is exactly how I would see it. We must not rest because that would be a wrong sense of comfort.
Okay. Yeah, we will definitely keep an eye on the developments there because it's really relevant for us at Uniper as well. And but maybe two aspects when we talk about gas that always stick out to me, especially when we talk about Uniper and security of supply. What we stand for is A, of course, our storage capacities, and B, our LNG portfolio. So liquefied natural gas portfolio. Maybe you can express a little bit why storage capacities, let's start with storage, are so important and relevant right now.
Yeah, storage and LNG are, of course, very important tools for security of supply in the gas market. And talking about storage, we need storage to balance the gas demand in winter. So the gas demand is seasonal. It means that in winter we need more than in summer because we need it for heating. And because the supply sources are not all so flexible that they can adapt to that, we need the storage. So mainly for these reasons. And the current situation is, as I earlier said, not bad. So because at this early point in the year, we already are between 65 and 70% full in Europe, so that's almost record levels in historical comparison. So that's very good, but we need to continue to fill storage until November when the winter season begins. So this is the purpose of storage. Uniper is a major storage operator, and we play our contribution to that security of supply. Yeah.
And of course, one way to fill our storages is with LNG. What is the status here?
Yeah, LNG is very much a rising star in the energy landscape or the gas market in Europe. Additional LNG capacity has been built, like the Wilhelmshaven terminal that we basically brought to the start in Germany, but also other LNG terminals are following suit. And this enabled us to bring more LNG in and partly replace the missing Russian volumes to the European energy mix. So LNG is certainly a very important source, and you need not only the capacity, and we need even more of that capacity, but also someone who brings these ships in, who buys these ships and brings them to the terminals so they can be then offloaded and used for gas consumption in Europe.
Yeah, I think the opening in Wilhelmshaven last December was one big milestone when we talk about LNG, especially for Germany. Now, of course, it's obvious that we don't get this LNG from our neighboring countries. I mean, we get it from further away. But there are some voices that say, okay, we move in from one dependency, which was the Russian gas, now to the next one with LNG and the US. How do you see that? Is that critical?
Importing energy, of course, always creates certain dependencies. So that's true. The importance is, of course, that you are not only dependent on a single source, which can then, for various reasons, be disrupted. In the case of LNG, the good thing is it's a global market. So you can, in principle, bring an LNG cargo that you load somewhere all around the world and also to Europe. If you have the contracts and the possibilities to buy them, you can bring them into your LNG capacity. Currently, it's true that US supplies of LNG have basically contributed the most to the replacement of Russian volumes that have been missing. But LNG also comes from other sources. It also comes from Africa. It also comes from the Middle East, like Qatar is one of the major suppliers. It also comes partly still from Russia, but that's a relatively small amount. All global LNG suppliers can also build out their capacity, and then it's available to the global market. So that's the big advantage of LNG, because it's not a fixed pipeline where one person is at the beginning and another person is at the end. It's fixed in the ground, and LNG is a different story.
Yeah. And I think we saw with the outage at Freeport, the export harbor in the US, that we in Europe could manage temporarily without the LNG from the States for some time. So definitely a good sign of diversification here as well. Maybe staying with countries, moving a little bit further east. One name is always, kind of named when we talk about sentiment, when we talk about development of energy prices, and that is China. Can you maybe elaborate a little bit on why China is such an important country in the world?
Yeah, to begin with, China is obviously a very big economy. It wants to become the biggest economy in the world, and nobody knows if and when that will be the case, but still the ambition is there to grow. And that means also that China needs a lot of energy. And LNG is an important part of that. Why is that the case? There's a lot of coal burn in China, and LNG is, from an environmental perspective, a better alternative to that. And for this and other reasons, LNG has become, China has become the biggest LNG importer in the world, after having a head-to-head race with Japan, who's traditionally always been the biggest LNG importer. So LNG plays an important role, and the pickup of the Chinese economy after COVID lockdowns has also had its impact on LNG. So we expect higher LNG imports into China than last year when we had the COVID situation, but we don't see any signs that it will reach the record levels we had seen in China in the past. Yeah, so the good news is that this may leave space also for Europe to get LNG. It's not that all the LNG will be pulled into China, but it's of course there's a dependency on China as an LNG importer.
Yeah, very interesting topic. I think it's always very interesting to see how everything connects globally as well. So, Cleo, thank you very much for your insights and your perspective on things. And I'm already looking forward to the next episode.
Yeah, thank you very much, Florian. It was a pleasure. And to everybody listening to this, have a good time. Thank you.
Exactly. To you out there, thanks for watching. Hope you tune in next time as well. Until then, bye-bye.